Today I thought we would talk about something that happens during this time in Japan, usually the whole month of December, and that is the Bonenkai, or end of the year party. Whether you're working at a school or a company in Japan, it is probably one of the parties that you will be expected to go to. You don't have to go to, but I'm going to explain a couple of reasons why it might be a good idea to go, what you can expect, what you may need to be prepared for, and just ways to navigate it no matter what your party style is. So let's go. So first, what exactly is a Bonenkai? When you say year-end party, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Maybe back in the US, we called it the holiday party, the staff party, the Christmas party, whatever. But it is a party that is held at the end of the year, usually maybe right before your holidays start, your vacation. And in Japan, they usually work on Christmas Day because it's not recognized as a national holiday. However, there is a string of holidays during the New Year season, which usually starts about December 28th and maybe lasts until January 3rd. Depends on your company, of course. Schools usually finish around December 20th, 21st, sometime during that week. December 23rd used to be the former emperor's birthday, so it was a national holiday, and now it's gone back to just being a normal working day. So yeah, I would say that it's usually the last 2 weeks that are probably the busiest time for these end of the year parties. Of course, you're going to hear that every workplace has its own unique style of Bonenkai, and the venues that you go to can range from like a typical Japanese style restaurant to something way more pricier, even overnight Bonenkais. One of the biggest differences between the parties that we had back in the US and maybe in your country as opposed to the ones in Japan is that there's a lot of alcohol and a lot of drinking. The concept behind these Bonenkai or end of year parties is to kind of reflect on the past year and basically drink your troubles and worries away. There's a lot of complaining or maybe evaluating. It has sort of a negative tone to it, although the party itself is not necessarily negative. It's saying, okay, we worked hard this year, these are the things that went wrong, but it's okay, we have a new year next year to change all that. It might be reflecting on things that happened bad, like, maybe your company lost a lot of money, or maybe at school there were a lot of problems or arguments or disagreements or debates, and this is the time to drink away your problems without worrying about it. And there's the bell. So I need to stop here, and I will continue in a little bit. All right, so I started talking about Bonenkais in my classroom, and I should have known better because when you're at school, no matter how much free time you think you have, you really don't. So things kept, oops, let me see if I can balance this. Sorry if this is a little bit crooked. What can I do? Well, we may just have to keep it with a little crooked. Yeah, so you just, when you think you have free time, then just a million things pop up. So I'm in my car now. After our closing ceremony, there was really nothing for me to do, and actually a lot of teachers just sneak off and leave. It's not really sneaking off because we're entitled to leave as soon as our job is done, and the kids were already gone. We walked the kids to the station, and then all my meetings and stuff were done. So I decided to come home. Actually, no, not go home. I decided to go out to eat lunch today, and I did, and I went to a really nice place called Cafe Freddy and had what I think was a pretty healthy lunch. It was like a quinoa rice with butter chicken curry, a lot of little vegetables, like I think it was beets maybe, or red cabbage, and salad. And right now, I just got me a frozen mango Allison tea with boba and aloe. But in Japanese, they say aloe. I like it because it's frozen, because it's kind of like an icy then. Perfect. So, I'm in the parking lot, and I thought I'd just come and try and finish up what I was saying so that I can get this off to you before, you know, having to wait for so long. Anyways, I think where I left off was just telling you about the Bonenkai and the difference between the US or other countries and Japan, and I had mentioned alcohol. And that's because one of the big things to do in Japan is drink. There's a lot of tradition and customs behind this. So for example, it's very customary and almost kind of like a secret obligation to pour the beer for your superiors. So that means if you have a supervising teacher, you would go up and you would pour their beverage for them. Usually it's beer, sometimes it could be wine, or it could be whatever they've ordered at the facility. At the facility. That sounds like you're in a jail or something. Whatever you've ordered at the restaurant or the place that you're eating at. It's also kind of good manners to go and pour the drinks for the administration or any of the higher-ups at your office. So if you're working for a company, obviously the higher-ups, the chief and your section chief, the big chief, and even the big director, if the setting is right or if you feel comfortable doing that. And at a school, it would mean your head teacher, your curriculum chief, your vice principal, your principal, anyone that is higher than you. It's kind of seen as a form of, I don't know, respect to pour their drink for them. Now, granted, they will be doing the same thing to you. So even though they may be your superiors, they will probably reciprocate by pouring your drink. Some of the teachers that you may work with, or some other people in your office. So I'm chewing my aloe and boba, or tapioca, whatever you want to call it. So they'll be pouring drinks for you. Now, if you're a non-drinker, or if you don't drink that much, or if you don't drink at all, there is a way to politely refuse, but still accept the gesture. Usually they have other non-alcoholic drinks such as oolong tea, orange juice, sometimes soft drinks, and it's polite to just tell them, oh, that no, you're not drinking, and then say you're drinking oolongcha, and then they'll go rush and try and find a tea or something to pour in place of the beer. Now, when I first came to Japan, I knew about this custom, but I wasn't a big drinker, yet I didn't want to offend anyone by not taking a drink. And I tell you, people will come up to you and just continuously want to keep pouring drinks for you. Because there's sort of like a saying, I think it's just keep the glass full. So if your glass is half empty, people will come and try and fill it up. If there's just a fourth left, people will come and try and fill it up to the brim. And you don't want to be rude and shoo them away, so you usually just take a sip and then get more. But for someone like me that's not a strong drinker, it was really hard. And I found that I was being too into the customs, and it was getting harder and harder to say no, and I just couldn't drink anymore. Now, you will see some Japanese people sometimes taking their glass and maybe pouring it into another glass, or finding an empty glass, so it avoids them having to drink the full glass, or I don't know. There's just a lot of tricks on how to navigate this. But now that I'm older, and now that I've been through all that, for me the easiest way is just to say no thank you and tell them that you're not drinking, and then they'll give you whatever beverage you ask for, whether it be orange juice or a soft drink. Learning the art of saying no politely is going to save you a lot of hangovers, embarrassment, and trouble, because it is really, really easy to feel the pressure of having people telling you to drink or saying, oh, this is the Bonenkai, it's the end of the year, come on, come on. Especially if you are a male teacher, I think sometimes the pressure is a lot more. I think sometimes they go a little bit easier on the females. If you are a female and you are a strong drinker, then they're going to love you because they'll keep coming with that beer or champagne. But as kind of someone who's been through, seeing different ALTs go through different problems, and actually hearing about people who have been involved in other such incidents, if you find that you can't hold your liquor well, or if it's getting to the point where you just really need to stop. Because a lot of accidents do happen during this time of year. It's mainly because people get a little bit too much alcohol, and sometimes, right, it's not like they do crazy things or anything bad happens, but it's very easy to trip and fall, especially if it's snowing, especially if you're in an icy area and you're having your Bonenkai in the snow. It's also very easy to just lose control, and it's embarrassing. But here's the strange part. Anything that happens at the Bonenkai, like if you threw up at your seat or if something strange happens, it's usually not talked about anymore. So if you see your supervisor just being either super obnoxious or just passing out and falling asleep, people of course remember it, but it's not brought up like, oh my gosh, this happened, and are you sure you can do your job? You just don't bring it up anymore. It's almost like that philosophy, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, what happens at your Bonenkai stays at your Bonenkai. I've learned a couple of things the hard way. So I'll share you one story that was just, it almost made me want to, frankly, just rethink whether or not I was happy here. Obviously I was, because I stayed. But let me share that story after a quick sip. This is so good. So when I was working in a very rural prefecture, these Bonenkais were usually at hot spring resorts, and we'd stay overnight. So the cost was quite expensive compared to other parties that you might have during your school year. But the good thing is you got an overnight stay, you got a nice dinner, your festive ceremony, and then, of course, you stay the night, and they have like beautiful onsens, like both the indoor kind and also the outdoor ones, which are called rotenburo. And there's nothing more, I don't know, for me, thrilling or satisfying than soaking in a hot tub under the moonlight in this nice warm, outdoor bath, and just looking at the stars. Like, so romantic, right? But yeah, you're with your coworkers, and right, sometimes you stay overnight, sometimes you have to share a room with your coworkers, same sex of course. But I thought it was kind of a good way to get to know your coworkers and a good way to celebrate. So if you're comfortable at that particular school, by all means, I suggest going to these overnight excursions. So I was going on this one such overnight Bonenkai, and they had like little performances, or groups of teachers would perform and provide entertainment for that night, whether it be a karaoke song, a dance, telling jokes, something. And usually you did it with either your group of friends at that school, or maybe different departments, like the science department did something, or the English department did something, or maybe it's just all the young teachers, or maybe it's the people that do sports clubs. I don't know how we were grouped, But I was in a group with some other teachers and office workers, and we were going to perform this song that was very, very popular this particular year. The song was Love Machine by Morning Musume. Morning Musume was like the trendy girl group at that time, and they had very quirky pop songs that were catchy, and they specifically, I think when they did Love Machine, they knew that it was going to be a hit with Bonenkais and groups, because there was a fun little dance to it, and people could sing along and get kind of rowdy. So that's what we were going to do. And it was fun because the song was relatively easy. I knew the song, and I kind of knew the dance moves, and the group of people I was doing it with were a lot of fun. So we had practices after school. We practiced the dance. We all knew our parts. We knew who was singing which solo, where you were going to stand. And I was really excited because you guys know me. I love entertaining secretly. Like, that's why my students probably hate me, because they're like, no, Kim, please no. But I do like a good performance. And so it came to be our turn, and we had decided on costumes. Like, we were going to be wearing, what do you call those garlands? It was like not a boa, but they're tinsel garlands, and we were going to have them wrapped kind of like a muffler. And we were supposed to wear black skirts and boots and sweaters or whatever you wanted to wear on top. And I was all ready. I felt good. Everybody was in a festive mood, maybe a little drunk already at the time. We had our big room, which was Japanese style, and they made a little area for the stage. And we're like, okay, are you ready? Are you ready? And some of the members of our group were laughing really hard, and I didn't know why. Silly, innocent me. So we got onto the little makeshift stage, and the music came on, and we're singing away, and I would sing, but of course copyright, and then I'd probably have everybody stopping the video at this time. And so we're singing away, and then there's this part where you're doing this dance. And as I turned around, every guy, or the male teachers, or the male people in our group, they were like unzipping their jackets or their shirts, and they turned around and they had these full, like, fake breasts. Like, just, you know, like a baseball catcher's mitt, or catcher's right outfit or uniform. That's what it was like, but instead it was like flesh colored, and I guess it was like falsies, but just a whole chest, and it was tied like around, I guess, their neck and their waist. So when they opened up, it was like they were topless, like topless females. And it wasn't just one, it was like 3 of the male teachers that did this. And of course everybody's laughing, and I just thought it was, I mean, I'm not a prude or anything, but I thought it was a little inappropriate. And I was just thinking, like, back home, could you imagine doing something like this in front of your principals or superintendents? And maybe some of you have that type of school atmosphere where you feel comfortable like that, but, you know, I know at my previous school, I don't think it would fly very well. And so then, okay, so they're doing that, everybody's laughing. And I didn't think anything until the members of the dance, these male members, started coming up to the females and trying to hug us and get a little physical and do a little actions that were just inappropriate. And I just kind of stopped. The music was going, everybody's laughing, and I just, in my head, I thought, oh God, I've had enough. And so I walked down off the stage, and I went to my place where I was sitting, and one of the English teachers said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, this is really embarrassing." And you know, I'm kind of like appalled that this type of behavior is acceptable. And do you know what she told me? She said, "Kim, this is a very rural school. We're not like Tokyo or Yokohama or, you know, any of the big cities where, you know, we're just trying to find our way of having fun, and you don't have to worry. They don't mean anything by it. And I said, they don't mean anything by it, but several of them physically, like, tried to grab me. Not in a, you know, not in a abusive way, but I just felt really uncomfortable. And when I said not to, they're laughing as if this was supposed to be part of the show. And so then she said, Kim, it's best just to drop it. Like, they didn't mean any harm by it. And I said, well, it's just not my thing. And I remember it was kind of snowing that day, and I just didn't feel like being in that room anymore. And so I went outside to take a walk, and my good friend he was working at another school. He was having a Bonenkai as well. And I kind of went to the area where his Bonenkai was. I was like, Brian, I said, oh my gosh, this is what happened. And so I was telling him, you know, like what had happened, and he was kind of equally as surprised as most of the other ALTs were, because this kind of thing is not really cool, you know, at our workplaces that we used to work at. So yeah, so that was a Bonenkai I just felt really uncomfortable at. And then I kept thinking in my head, you know, did I expect something different, or like, why was I so offended by this? They were just having fun. But I thought, no, if my work ethics, or if I just didn't feel it was cool, then why should I be made to be a part of it? So that's why I just walked away. And of course, when I went back to school after the new year, it was not talked about. There were no apologies, nothing. It was just as if it never happened. And maybe that's a part of Japanese culture and these Bonenkais that it's hard for me to understand, that you could do crazy things like this, or you could get so drunk that you pass out or throw up on your supervisor, and all these other things that are forgiven because it's a Bonenkai and it's the end of the year and it's time for you to forget. Another thing you can probably expect is that there's going to be lots of food, lots of maybe expensive things that you won't ever get a chance to try in your normal daily life. And it's a good time to just enjoy the food or the traditional Japanese cuisine that comes out. However, if you are vegan, vegetarian, or if you have dietary restrictions, probably a good idea to alert the people that are in charge, because most of these items come in a set course meal, or you're sharing platters or plates of food with other people at your table. And I think way back when I was on Jet, back in 1988, I know, long time ago, we didn't have that option, or there wasn't much courtesy given to people who had dietary restrictions. Nowadays, allergies, dietary restrictions, preferences are all accommodated. I think as long as you let whoever's in charge of the party know in advance, then they can make those arrangements for you. Another thing is, you could be paying a lot of money for your Bonenkai, and after it's over, you're still kind of hungry. Or you feel like, did I eat 10,000 yen worth of food? Or I don't know if I really ate 20,000 yen worth of food. Now, most of that money is probably going to drinks. And if you don't drink, you're probably not going to get your money's worth. Sometimes they make allowances, and sometimes they let the non-drinkers pay a little bit less. But a lot of times these things are expensive. And you'll still be hungry afterwards. But that's where nijikais and sanjikais, and we call them after parties, take place. So the nijikai is something usually most people go to. And what it is after your Bonenkai, unless you're staying overnight somewhere, there's a designated time that it's over. And when it's over, instead of saying bye and going home, everybody says, okay, where are we going next? And you go to a second spot. Usually the second spot is a little bit more casual. Maybe the food is something like yakitori, which is chicken on skewers, or a lot of more snacky type foods. Or you may be going to karaoke. So instead of staying at the place you were at, you might go to a karaoke room and just sing some more, eat some more, drink some more. Even after that, there may even be a third party depending on the group that you're going with. And I find that a lot of times the third or fourth or the last party is usually something like ochaske or something. Sorry, I keep checking my phone for messages. But the last party is usually something to kind of settle your stomach. So it could be like a ochaske, which is rice with tea, or just very mild rice dishes. It might be something, sometimes like if you're going out with the group, a more mellow group, it might be dessert. It might be just cake somewhere and coffee. But yeah, you'll just find that the parties keep on going. And there is some etiquette, like sometimes you feel a little obligated to go if the people in your group are going, or if your supervisors ask you to come along. You also might not want to go, especially when it's like the end of your school year. You just want to hurry up and have your vacation. So you can politely say that you're going home, or that you're busy, or that you have an early day. I find that, why do we always have to make excuses for why we don't want to go somewhere? Why can't you just say, okay, I'm going to go home? Why do you have to say, oh, because of this or that? Or I'm not drinking because I'm driving. Why do we need excuses? Like, people should just accept that if you want to not do something or do something, that's our decision. But I know that's not entirely like a Japanese thing. I think that's all over. Probably the most important piece of advice I have to talk about Bonenkais is, if you do drink, even just a little bit, don't drive. Don't risk getting caught, having an accident, being pulled over and failing a breathalyzer test, because that's a huge offense here in Japan, to be drinking and driving. And if you are a teacher, it could mean your job is gone. And I'm sure as an ALT or as a foreign worker, it could mean, bye. And yeah, no questions asked. It's very serious. It's something you don't even want to attempt to do. They have taxis all around Japan. So when you go to your party, if you did drink, just leave your car in the parking lot or pay whatever you need to and take a taxi home. They also have something which is called, what is it? Daisha? I'm going to go check into that for you. And what that is it's like a taxi. You go, they drive you, or there's actually two people in the vehicle, and one of them will drive your car home while you're leading the car or the directions with the person in the taxi. So it's kind of like a taxi for yourself and a taxi for your vehicle. So let's say you really need to have your vehicle and get home, but you've had a little to drink, you've even had just one glass of wine, you can use the service. They'll drive the car home for you. You get home safely, your car gets home safely, and you didn't break any laws or risk anything. You'll notice, if you are a driver and you're not a drinker, you'll notice that a lot of checkpoints sometimes have officers on duty just randomly pulling over cars to do a test to make sure that you haven't been drinking. And that's another reason why I'm saying don't even chance it, because there are random spots, and it's usually right outside where the entertainment districts are, where people have been perhaps drinking and then getting ready to go home, so they kind of hang out near the parking lots, and the police can just randomly pull you over and just ask you to take a test. It wasn't because you were driving funny. It was just randomly checking you. I did my first breathalyzer test and I had no idea what to do because it had never happened to me. I was coming off the highway or the expressway, and at the place where you do the payment, they had like a bunch of police officers and little stations set up, and my Japanese was not that great, and he asked me to roll down my window, and he said, he brought out the device and I didn't know what it was, and so in Japanese, if I recall, he said something like "hu toite kudasai" or something. So he was basically telling me who to blow into this thing, right? Or you blow your breath to see if you have any alcohol in it. But because he made that noise, I thought he wanted me to say the noise too. So when he put the device near me, I went, "Whoo," like that. And then all the officers just started laughing. They're like, all right, go ahead. And I thought about it and I said, oh, I think they were asking me to blow in the device, like just, but when they were explaining it to me, they did that sound, so I thought I was supposed to do that sound. Just another embarrassing moment in the life of Kim, but I know now, and I will say, yes, I do see those breathalyzer check people around the station areas, around different parking lot areas, and it's usually during sakura season when people are doing cherry blossom viewing and maybe having picnics and drinking, and during this season, Bonenkai season, because people are drinking and they just want to keep the road safe, which I think is great. And I think we should be responsible, and if we are choosing to drink, don't drive, or don't even try to drive. I know a lot of the things I shared today on here were negative stuff, but I will tell you that I've been to some wonderful Bonenkais where I really feel like I was able to bond with my coworkers. When you do performances that don't involve stripping and all that, they can be a lot of fun. They like doing little skits and comedies. Sometimes they play games, and sometimes the games are quite fun, like guess whose baby picture is who, or what are your dream jobs, and then you try and guess who matches what dream job. Or there's so many variations of bingo where you can win prizes. And yeah, it's just a fun time to be with your coworkers away from the school and in a totally different environment. I've had some of the best meals at Bonenkais, and it's also, if you are a drinker, or even if you're someone that is not a big drinker like me and you just want to sample something, you can have people explain all the different types of sake to you. Which ones taste good warm, which ones taste good cold, which one tastes good with fish or this or that. It's a good time to find out who in your workplace speaks English, because often you won't get a chance at school. Maybe they're too busy or they're too embarrassed, but a lot of teachers do have really good English ability. People say maybe it's the alcohol, but I just find sometimes the atmosphere allows itself to be able to communicate comfortably with people that you never maybe talked English with in your school teacher's room or in the office. I also think it's a great chance to go to these places that you usually wouldn't go as a single person for dinner. Usually you get the elaborate Japanese style room with a tatami. Sometimes they have little like portable stoves that they bring where you keep your food warm. The whole presentation aspect of it is just wonderful. If you are lucky enough to be in the countryside or be in an area where it's snowing or you're surrounded by nature, that's, for me, it's just such a, festive atmosphere, and you just feel really glad to be enjoying good food in beautiful atmosphere, looking outside at the snow falling. No snow falling today for my Bonenkai tonight. In fact, it's really a lot more warmer than I thought. I forgot one more thing, which is kind of important. a recently important piece of news. Anyways, so I am going to my Bonenkai. I'm going to enjoy it, but I don't film it, or I don't film my coworkers or other teachers. And you can put 2 and 2 together. So let's see, how can I put this? Okay, when you go to these parties and when you're having fun with your coworkers, it's great. You can take pictures for the memories. You'll have people taking pictures of you, you pose, all that. But you have to be very careful what you put on social media or if you share it with other people. Most schools have an unspoken don't rule. And I mean, it's kind of common knowledge, right? But I remember someone that worked at one of my previous workplaces that went out to have a drink or have a party karaoke with her workmates. And a lot of things were posted on social media. And a lot of things that probably shouldn't have been posted, like when people are singing drunkenly, or when they're actually drunk, period, or when they're toasting and drinking and you see the behavior of teachers or administrators in a different light. Remember, we do have our private lives and you do have your social lives. So maybe for people whose jobs are influencers, or you have a job where you're promoting something, or maybe you're just with friends, fine if everybody wants to be on social media. But especially for schools, and if you're a teacher and if you're working at a school, if you want to post yourself and what food you're having or what you're doing, that's fine. But please be very respectful of your coworkers and the other people that work at your schools, because they may not want themselves being shown in a party atmosphere. You may not want yourself being shown or shared in a party atmosphere. Remember, your students, no matter how old they are, even if they're high school or junior high, kindergarten, elementary, they have a certain, not image. I don't want to say image because that makes it sound like it's not true. But there is sort of, they have a professional relationship with you. And for them to see you in a different light could be detrimental to how they view you as a teacher. It's not every person and it's not every school. There's some schools that really don't care, and I'm sure there's a lot of your fellow teachers that don't care. But just use your discretion, and just remember too that things on the internet or things that you share might be seen or viewed by people that you may not necessarily want them to be viewed by, and you really can't, I don't know, if they should happen to take a photo of you or share somebody that is in a high position doing something that is probably not the best thing to be seen, then you may have to be responsible for your actions. So please use care when you do share things, especially with behavior and with people. Be respectful, and then go have a good time at your Bonenkai. I've probably forgot about a few more things, so if they come up later on, I'll share them with you. And if you have any questions, or if you have any stories or things that you'd like to share, please feel free to read them in the comments. I think Bonenkais can be a little bit intimidating if it's your first one, and sometimes they can be, you know, so exciting that you can't wait for your next school party. But you can enjoy them, you can get through them, and yeah, best thing about it is they happen at the end of the year, so you know that after it's over, you only have a few more days left of the year, and then you can enjoy everything that comes up in the next year. I'm gonna take off. My Bonenkai is still 4 hours away. So I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna keep the same clothes on, I think, but I am gonna change and not take my school backpack. I'm gonna take a smaller purse, and I'm gonna get ready for the food. Because the venue we're going to tonight has some good food. I'm not drinking, but it is a place that is famous for different types of sake. So yeah, so it's gonna be fun to just celebrate with everybody, and then my winter vacation will officially begin. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and I would love if you would like to subscribe to our channel. I am trying my best to post as regularly as I can to share bits of Japan, bits of my life in Japan. I have different angles. I'm a dog mom, I'm a teacher soon to be retiring, and I'm a senior citizen. That's a triple threat. Just kidding. But no, I do like to go to different places and explore, take adventures, and share any bits of advice that I can to help you through whatever you're going through in your life, and especially if you are thinking of coming to Japan, or if you're already in Japan, whatever I can help you with, I'm glad to do so, especially because I've made so many mistakes. I don't want you to make the same ones. All right, thank you so much, and hopefully we will see you next time. Take care.